This morning I was listening to a mentoring phone call by a gentleman named Woody Woodward, and he was talking about one of the elements of success in every area of life that many of us forget about as we get older. And this reminded me of, and I'll tell you about what that is in just a second, reminded me of my son, Nick. When he was younger, he was so worried about being able to go and play with his friends. He was an extremely diligent pianist, and he spent hours sitting in front of the piano, but he also always watched the clock to make sure that he had enough time to go play with his friends. And we even switched his time that he started school so he could get home earlier, get the piano practicing done, so he could go and play with his friends. So guess what we forget to do as we get older? Play with our friends, play. So today I want you to think about how you would like to incorporate more play in your life. And what would that look like? Who would it be with? And what is the type of play that you loved as a kid that you might want to incorporate in your life again? With that, Kevin, would you like to be first?
As a kid, my play continued through high school very much. So I was immature and my friends were immature, though we accomplished a lot. We all went to a community college and in 3 hours a day accomplished our associate's degrees and high school credit all in the same time. Every day we were done about 11 o'clock, our junior and senior years, and we went out, played at the lake, and did whatever we want. I think of play now as the time I spend with my kids. I'm coaching a t-ball team for my 5-year-old. I'm really excited to do that. I think of play as the golf I play 2 or 3 times a week in the early mornings, and the travel. My real passion is traveling and going out and seeing the world for as free as possible, as many great places as possible. It is my dream to set myself up in a way that I can travel 10 or 12 weeks a year, take 6 weeks in a summer, go to Europe with the kids, do amazing tours and make memories in that fashion. I think I still play a lot. I make sure I allocate a lot of time to do those things I love, to do those things that my kids love, and I think I live a full and fun life. Thank you.
I second that. When we took our kids to Europe for Christmas and we asked them at the end on the last day, is this something you'd want to do again? Should we not necessarily recreate that particular type of family trip? And they all in unison said, we have to do this again. So playing with the family is great. All right, Linda, would you like to share with us your thoughts on playing?
Sure. Play is something of a 4-letter word for me while going to college. Work was more the norm, and play was an afterthought. While I was raising my kids, going to work, play was something that you did when you had time, not something you made time to do, which I believe was the wrong thinking about play. So now I take time to be bored, because being bored has that creative undertone to it that allows you to be creative. And creativity is born out of play, which is why kids go and they play on the jungle gyms, and then they're more focused when they go into class. So I think play should be like a recess all the time. So I take a recess and a reset for myself daily with my yoga. That's kind of a play thing that I like to do. When I'm studying pretty hard for yoga, because I'm taking a course and then teaching teachers how to teach. So we'll take an afternoon and we'll teach outside, and that will be sort of our playground. and incorporate some of the fun things, activities that are going on around us. So it becomes more of a creative flow. When I do that, I find that my work is my play. So we juxtapose those two ideas, work into play.
Thank you, Linda. My watch says 6:15. What time is it really?
12:37.
Okay. Do we have time for one more? Our timer, do we have time for one more, or are we do have time for one more? All right. Weston,
Yes, ma'am.
tell us about play. How are you playing in your life? And what kind of play have you enjoyed throughout your life?
Sure. Play has evolved in my life. I actually have a very similar story to Kevin, in that I remember play being kind of similar to what he described it as a youth. Now play is different. I work a lot more than I used to work. Who's our grammarian?
I'm getting a big giant one right there.
Good. Make it like bold. The things that are different for me today. I'll get serious with this. So my play today is very much revolved around my kids. Everything that I do on a day-to-day basis is built around functionally increasing my productivity in my career so that I can create more of a lifestyle like Kevin described. I want to travel with my kids. I want history to be taught with my kids in the locations that history happened. Not out of a book, not sitting in a classroom. What we do today, because we're not quite there yet, we're not quite traveling the world 12 weeks of the year, I spend a significant portion of my time engaging in athletics with my children. So I grew up playing sports my whole life, and because of that, that's easy for me to relate with my children. I play a lot of soccer, even though I never played that growing up. It's a lot of fun still though. I play a lot of soccer, a lot of baseball, a lot of football, a lot of basketball with my kids. I work probably 12 to 13 hours a day and 2 hours a day playing. And to me, I think it's probably the most liberating feeling to be able to turn my mind off in the middle of the day when I come home with my kids and just completely absorb myself in those types of things. There's just something about seeing immediate progression. Sports and athletics in general, they can be detrimental to some kids, I think. But I think as long as they're taught effectively how to handle what the sport's designed to do, it allows them to see and recognize progression. And that's what it did for me growing up. And so that's one thing that I spend a significant amount of time with my kids doing. I teach them incremental progression so that they can actually see themselves improving over time. And to me, even though I am playing, I'm kicking a soccer ball, throwing a football, to me it's more of a lesson. And I just love it. I love seeing my kids improve and I love seeing them grow because that's the best reward I could get. It's the best dopamine slot machine I could ever get, is seeing that my kids catch football periodically or intermittently and seeing that type of progression. So that's my play.
So the juxtaposition between you were all into sports and we were sitting at the piano is while my kids are watching the other kids in the neighborhood out playing basketball in the cul-de-sac.
I wish I would have played music. I started playing when I was in high school on my own, but I wish I would have grown up playing it.
Yeah, well, thank you for participating today, and we'd like to know if they were all in time, okay?